Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's data automation exercise, we're going to add 50 worksheets with a single click. But before we do this, let's first learn how to add one worksheet with VBA. So Alt F11 to launch the Visual Basic Editor. I'm gonna add a module and start writing a subroutine, which I will call out worksheet. And to add a worksheet with VBA, we need to write this very difficult line of code, which is this workbook that worksheets.add. And that's enough. Now if I click run, we immediately can see that Excel has added one worksheet. If I click run once again, we have another worksheet and so on. Now the bit annoying thing for me at least is that it adds by default the worksheets to the left. And I have used to, when working manually, to click this button here, which adds the worksheets to the right. And I'd like to do this with VBA also. So to manipulate this, we can use the after argument and specify exactly after which of the existing worksheets we want the new sheet to be added. So if I want to add the newly created sheet after this sheet 3, then I can refer to this object either by its name or by its index number. And if I choose its index number, I assume it's going to be 4. So if I write here this workbook, that worksheets, and in parentheses, I type in 4 here. And if I now click run, the new worksheet was added and it's now the last sheet here. The problem is that I cannot simply hardcode here 4. So instead, I'm going to declare a variable which I will call WSCount, and it's going to be of type integer. And we can easily find this using this workbook.worksheets.count. And instead of hardcoding here 4, I'm going to type in WS count. And if I now click run, we can see here that the newly added worksheets will be always to the right side. So now I'm going to delete the newly added worksheets. And let's see how to manipulate the newly added worksheets names. Anytime we add a worksheet, whether manually or with VBA, they become visible on screen. That means that they are now the active sheet object. So in VBA, we have this active sheet object, and in the immediate window here, I can type a question mark and ask what is the name of the active sheet. So in this case, it's telling me that it's sheet 12. So I can use this now and write this workbook, that active sheet, that name equals to, let's say, new. So if I now click run, we can see that we have added a worksheet and we have changed its name. However, this is not a good practice here to hardcode names like that. So instead, I'm going to change this subroutine a little bit by requiring the user to provide argument, which I will call worksheet name, and it's going to be of type string. And now instead of hardcoding here new, this will be equal to whatever the user provides. So this will be our worksheet name argument. And now we can write another subroutine, which I will simply call test, and call this worksheet from another subroutine. So I will go here add worksheet, and I'm gonna type in some gibberish now, right? Just to see that this works. So if I now click run, we can see that we have added a worksheet here. Now, if I now, however, provide a name that we already have in the existing worksheets, so if I type in here new, what will happen is that Excel will add a new sheet, but it will not be able to change its name to new in this case. So if I click run, we immediately get this runtime error saying that that name is already taken, try a different one. So in order to bypass this error, before adding a worksheet, we'll first have to check if such exists with the same name, and if so, we will delete it. So very quickly, I'm gonna write another subroutine, which I will call delete worksheet, and it's once again is going to accept an argument, a string, and here we can directly write a loop. So I will declare a variable, and I can write for each worksheet in this workbook dot worksheets next ws, and we can write that if worksheet.name equals to this variable, then and if we can write here worksheet.delete. And let me make this bigger. And before adding this worksheet, we're going to first call this subroutine here. So I'm going to pass this worksheet here in order to call it first. And if I now click run here to try to add a new worksheet with the name new, I'm gonna get this warning saying that Microsoft Excel will permanently delete the sheet. Do you want to continue? This will happen if I try to delete the sheet manually, right? The problem is that it interrupts the execution of the code, and I don't like that. So in order to avoid this, we can disable the alerts temporarily. So I'm going to write here application display alerts equals false. We're going to delete the worksheet. Then immediately we're going to turn on the alerts. And at this stage, we can directly exit this subroutine, because there's no need to keep on looping through all sheets, since we know that worksheets name are unique. So if I now click run, we'll see that it will delete first the worksheet with the name new, and only then we'll add it. So now I can delete these 3 worksheets, and let's add all these worksheets here. I think there are exactly 50. And by the way, these are some random words that I asked ChatGPT to generate for me. You know, English is not my native language, so I don't even know what many of those mean. And if some word is not very politically correct, then put the blame on ChatGPT. So we're going to create one worksheet, and they will have the names here according to the words. So I'm going to change this subroutine name to add multiple worksheets, and I'm going to declare this worksheet as variable. So I'm going to call this words as worksheet, and set this to be this workbook dot worksheets random words. And now we need a variable to identify the last row, and another variable to loop. And the last row will be words ws.cells rows.count on column A and exo up that row. And now I can write a loop. So from the first to the last row, next I, we're going to call our add worksheet function. And the name of each sheet will be what we have on our words worksheet, where the row is I and the column is 1. And to avoid having entirely blank worksheets, we can also add some text here in cell A1 of each sheet. So we can write maybe active this workbook dot active sheet dot cells 1 comma 1 dot value equals space and underscore. I'm just gonna write some gibberish text here. Hello from worksheet, and concatenate this with this workbook dot worksheets. Actually, I can concatenate this with this part here, right? Dot value and maybe exclamation mark. So let's see what's going to happen. Now I'm gonna click run. And we can see here that we have quite so many worksheets. And if I pick a random one, let's say this breeze, we can see that in cell A1 we have hello from worksheet breeze. So this is it for today. We click Alt F11 to see the entire code. If you have any questions, please drop those in the comment section, and I'll see you in the next one.